Hi everybody, I'm Christy Goranson and welcome to Washington Grown. We're in Southeast Washington where the climate is perfect for growing wine grapes. In this episode, we'll explore why Washington has become world-renowned for growing grapes and making wine. We'll meet Marty Clubb, owner of L'Ecole No. 41, and get a tour of his 30-year-old winery. I'll learn how to make the perfect gnocchi and halibut dish using some of L'Ecole's fine wine. We'll also travel to Seattle's Wine Academy and learn the fine art of tasting wine and some secrets on how to pair wine with food. I'll be talking with WSU professor Dr. Carolyn Ross to discuss the science behind wine. Then we're in the kitchen with our home chef, Kristen.
Today we're making easy, elegant hors d'oeuvres that you can serve at your next party or wine tasting. We're doing a creamy roasted garlic and cheese spread, prosciutto wrapped asparagus, and a beautiful platter of crudité.
All this and much more on Washington Grown.
There you go.
That's okay. For whole wheat, this is pretty awesome.
They are so delicious.
Here we are in the heart of wine country, Walla Walla, Washington. Second in the nation, only just behind Napa Valley, Walla Walla is quickly becoming the go-to destination for vintners and connoisseurs alike. In today's episode, we'll follow the wine from genesis to completion, from vine to bottles, as we see just what the southern Washington region has to offer. Generally thought of as the onion capital of the world, Walla Walla's vineyards produce some of the most sought-after grapes. I spoke with L'Ecole owner and managing winemaker Marty Clubb, and I wanted to know more about the history of the winery. All right, so Marty, tell me about L'Ecole No. 41. What's the 41 all about?
Well, this building was part of the Walla Walla School District, and it was School District number 41. L'Ecole, of course, means the school in French, and so we're trying to tie the history of the school with it being a winery now. We started in 1983, so 2012 would have been our 30th harvest. So we've got quite a bit of experience in terms of field know-how, in terms of cultivating the vines to really produce the best fruit, because the best fruit ultimately leads to the best wine. Our wines are very popular in Seattle, but growing popularity in in Spokane and Portland. But we have now grown to a point where we distribute our wines throughout the country. So you can actually find L'Ecole in virtually every state.
I've had a blast learning about the history of the winery, so stay tuned because Marty will take me on a tour of the facility and I might just get to sample some myself. We're back in Walla Walla, Washington at the L'Ecole Winery. And earlier in the show, we heard from owner Marty Clubb and learned about some of the winery's unique history. But there's one more thing I was wondering about, the bell.
A dozen wineries all had a special bell made to ring in the harvest. And what we did was we took the original bell and did a casting of it. And so you can see the original casting name on the bell, but had our little imaged bell. And this is our doorbell.
And it says, please ring this beautiful bell.
It's loud. So, and everybody rings the bell. And then they hear it and it's so loud they go, I didn't mean to do that.
Now, I was promised a tour, so let's get to it. First up on the tour is where it all begins, the vineyard.
This is our small little vineyard right next to the winery, and we like to have this here so people can come out and look at the wine grapes as it's growing. And with it being spring, you can see right here, these are the little clusters of grapes that haven't quite gone into what's called bloom yet. Washington really is a wonderful place for growing grapes.
Why is that?
Well, there's a lot. Our latitude means that during the summer we have more sunshine, and of course sunshine is what drives photosynthesis and plant growth and feeds the sugar into the grapes. And while it might be wet in Seattle, it's dry here in eastern Washington. And we can really control our vine vigor and control the berry weight growth So it's a combination of all these factors that really plays into the perfect climate for wine. And people often say Washington wines are New World fruit, but Old World structure in terms of balance and elegance.
Next up on the tour is the barrel room, where thousands of barrels are just waiting to be bottled.
This is our main red wine barrel room.
Okay.
We have a few stainless steel fermentation tanks that we use during harvest. The reason it's kind of cold is because that's what wine likes.
What
Wine
temperature is it
It's
at?
about 58 degrees.
Yeah.
This room is all of our 2012 red wines.
How many barrels do you have in all here?
We have about 2,500 barrels, and each barrel holds about 25 cases of wine, or 300 bottles per barrel. So we're happen to be bottling right now. It's the 1st of June, and we're bottling all of our 2012 white wines, and it's kind of a fun process, so let's go see it.
While their wine is bottled by LaCole staff, Marty told me how, since they only bottle for a maximum of 2 weeks a year, it's far more economical to temporarily rent the equipment from a vendor, thus the bottling truck. First, the bottles are filled with a quick purge of nitrogen to ensure the freshest tasting bottle of wine. The bottles are then filled, corked, sealed, and labeled.
This is an electronic eye, so when the bottle passes the eye, it releases a label, spins it around on the bottle, and you have a finished product.
How about that? The bottles are then inspected and loaded. Let's see what some of the customers have to say about LaCole Winery.
There's a big variety here, so whatever you like, you can find something.
They don't make bad wine in Walla Walla.
No, every wine
They don't make bad wine.
every wine here has been fabulous.
I've had such a fun day visiting the winery and even trying a few varietals, but now I'm hungry, so I'm headed over to nearby Dayton for a nice lunch break at the Wineheart Cafe. With an eclectic menu that ranges from American to worldwide influences, the Wineheart Cafe nicely mixes the spirit of a small town with the style of the big city. And today, I'll be speaking with Chef McKeevy. He's going to show us how to make pan-seared halibut and orange zest gnocchi and accompany it with LaCole's Semillon wine. But first, let's hear from what some of the customers have to say on what keeps them coming back.
I love the food and I love the people. The people make it really special.
Incredible ingredients, and they just do such a great job putting together meals.
They change the menu often with extra fresh dishes using fresh local products, and their brunch on the weekends is awesome.
All right, I'm sold. Now let's get started. First, we start by covering the potatoes with a generous coat of both olive oil and salt.
You can't be afraid of it.
Really?
Most of it's not going to get in there.
This would probably scare a lot of people.
It does. We're going to put this into a 400-degree oven. It's going to take about 45 minutes to an hour, and you do the higher temp. That helps pull out the moisture as well.
And about an hour later,
There's our finished potatoes.
wow. And you really salted these.
Yeah, these ones are really,
were-
really salted.
Okay.
When you feel like it's way too much, just add some more.
Okay. A lot of salt. Next, peel your potatoes and add your egg yolks.
And these are farm fresh eggs that we get here locally in Dayton.
Good looking eggs.
Yes.
Now, add in the ricotta cheese.
When you're doing this at home, you're going to want to actually take the ricotta out of the container.
Pretty wet.
Right, and you're going to want to put it in cheesecloth and just kind of hang it over a bowl for at least an hour or so, just to get some of that
Get all that
ricotta off of
moisture
there.
out. Dry ricotta. Now use a ricer to mash your potatoes and ensure no chunks make it into the mix. Get an arm workout. At this point, add about a tablespoon of salt. That's a lot harder than it seems, but that's fun. I love the way it looks. Next, add your flour and mix by hand until tacky.
So we're going to add in the orange zest,
Okay.
and then we'll reserve the rest of the orange for the sauce.
So the whole orange is zested?
The whole orange will be zested.
Mix in the orange zest and place the dough in the fridge for about an hour to cool. Once your dough is cooled, roll it out and cut it into 2-inch pieces. Now place the freshly cut gnocchis back into the fridge to firm them up. Once cooled, place your gnocchis into boiling salt water.
Once they start floating, it takes about a minute, and you don't need to wait for all of them to float. You want to wait for the majority of them to float.
Once your gnocchis are finished cooking, place them in an ice bath to cool. But in the meantime, let's cook up some tasty halibut.
The key with doing any fish in a pan is to get it nice and hot and have plenty of oil in it.
Sear it.
So that way you sear it, and the hotter it is, they have a tendency not to stick to the pan as easily. Put it in away from you. That'll help keep you from burning yourself, splattering the oil up on you.
And how long do you cook it on each
You're
side?
gonna do about 3 minutes or so on each side. With halibut, you can cook it to about a medium well. Doesn't need to be all the way through.
While the fish is cooking, let's get started on the sauce. We start by browning some butter and adding about a cup of Le Col's Semillon wine.
Turn the heat back on so that way it's gonna flame up just a little bit. Flamed up a little bit faster than I thought it would, sorry.
That's okay. Now add fresh squeezed juice from 1 whole orange.
And we're gonna reduce this down until, about half to 3/4 of what is in there right now.
Remove from the heat as soon as your sauce has reduced down and mix in cold butter.
So we turn the heat off because as we add the butter in, we want it to emulsify.
Okay.
And if you leave the heat on, it's just gonna separate.
Now that we have our sauce, let's fry up some gnocchis and plate. Garnish it with some sea beans and add a glass of Le Col's Semillon wine, and we're ready to eat. This is my favorite part right here.
Okay. Go in for it. And
All right, let's do it. Really creamy on the inside and crunchy on the outside. And that orange zest is great. It's like a summer on the Washington coast.
exactly.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
For more information on recipes like this and others, visit our website at wagrown.com. Coming up, I'll be talking with Dr. Carolyn Ross from Washington State University to learn more about the science behind wine. Then we'll visit the Northwest Wine Academy in Seattle to learn how to correctly taste wine. Washington State University's viticulture program is quickly becoming one of the top in the nation. I met with Associate Professor Dr. Carolyn Ross to discuss the science behind creating and tasting the perfect glass of wine. Give me a little bit of background, how long you've been here at Washington State University and what exactly is it that you do?
Okay, I have been here since 2004. I do sensory evaluation of food and wine. The first thing that we do prior to any trained evaluation sessions is we prepare these standards. We take the attribute that we're interested in and we enhance it in the wine. So what we took was cloves and we put that in a red wine, and then we put black pepper in a red wine. We presented those to our panelists just to say this is what black pepper is like in wine, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Second part, we had our panelists evaluate different samples. And what they were doing there was they were looking at wine and they were evaluating the finish. Wine finish refers to how long a wine takes to finish in your mouth once you've swallowed it or expectorated it. So how much of a reminder do you have of that wine? And so what we're studying is what goes on within the wine. If you change the properties of the wine, how does that change the finish time?
When you're actually tasting a wine, what should we look for?
Well, the first thing after you've looked at the color is swirl the wine, take a few sniffs. See if you can identify a few of the aromas that are present. Don't be too hard on yourself. If you can identify 3 to 5 aromas, that's great. So if it's a white wine, you're going to be looking more at acidity and sweetness, or sourness and sweetness. Whereas for a red wine, it's going to be more astringency, which is kind of that drying, puckering feeling in your mouth, and bitterness.
Why do people twirl the wine in your glass, or swirl, yeah?
That is to release some of the aroma compounds that are in the wine. Otherwise, they're trapped within the matrix of the wine, so by swirling it, you're releasing them into the headspace. That's another reason why when you put the wine in your mouth, you really swish it all over your mouth. And that is to release any more of those flavor compounds once the wine is actually in your mouth. Then you're going to look at other attributes of the wine. Are things in balance? Are they in harmony? And balance is something you often don't notice until it's absent, meaning that you don't try wine and say, wow, this is really well balanced. You would try it and say, this is out of balance, and then you kind of have to figure out what was missing. So if you have high alcohol, you need something else to counterbalance that. Otherwise, it just is high alcohol. But kind of figure out what you like as far as broad categories go. Do you like a sweeter wine, or do you like not as sweet a wine? It is admittedly hard to tell just from the labels.
So just know what you like.
Know what you like.
Start from there.
It's such a personal thing.
Yeah.
And then it's also a value, how much you want to spend on the wine. That's also a big thing as well. You can get some really good wines for not a high cost.
Now that I know what to look for, I can't wait to go out and buy my next bottle of wine. On the South Seattle Community College campus lies the Northwest Wine Academy. I visited with instructor Regina Denault, who explained to me why the academy was created.
Seattle is the largest wine business area in the Northwest. We sell the most wine, we buy the most wine of any city, so it just made sense to open a wine program in Seattle. There's 3 degrees: wine making, wine marketing and sales, and food and wine pairing.
Students were given the opportunity to not only learn about wine in the classroom, but to produce their own varieties.
The winery actually was established in 2005, and that was our first vintage. Students will pile up in vans and go out to Eastern Washington, pick grapes. We do crush usually the very next day or that same day, and then they see that process through. They produce the labels, the packaging, the marketing of it.
And they get to see the end product.
Absolutely, and drink it.
The best part, right? They're smelling. They're sticking their noses in the glass. What are they doing?
This class is a sensory evaluation class. Students are learning about not only the aromas in wine, but the characteristics in wine. This particular exercise gives them an opportunity to test their aroma library. So I infuse a different aroma in the same white wine. They don't know what that aroma is. They smell it, they try to detect what that aroma is and write it down.
In the industry, it's really big to try to figure out what exactly are we smelling, Some of us thought, it'd be moss when it'd be like rosemary or something. It's just awesome to think what you're smelling to what it really is.
So we have a wine science class, we have a wine business, 3 wine business classes, a wine marketing and sales class, and then all the production classes and a lot of food and wine pairing classes.
I was lucky enough to catch one of Chef Jay DeLong's Introduction to Food and Wine Pairing classes.
Today we're talking about bubbles. You came in during bubbles time. If there's a sweeter food, we can have a sweeter bubbles. Remember our guidelines, right? The sweeter the food, sweeter the wine needs to be. Bubbles go with everything, we always say. So we're going to talk about sparkling wines from all over the world. We have a nice spread of different tapas and mezzes they can taste with every single bubble we're going to do today.
They taste wine with different foods, so they see what doesn't work. For instance, if you have tannin and you have fish, it can make the fish taste metallic. So they get to taste it and experience it themselves. We show them the good stuff too. We don't just show them the bad stuff.
I would imagine that the students here are just loving what they do.
I think so. I mean, how bad is it? You're sitting in a wine class and you're tasting wine every day. That's pretty fun.
Tell me about Washington wines and what makes them so special.
Washington wine is amazing because of its diversity. And our diversity comes from our growing season. We can grow Riesling, we can grow Syrah, and everything in between, Mourvedre, Malbec. I mean, there's so many varieties grown here now.
Up next, I'm on the streets with students from the Northwest Wine Academy to see if they can tell the difference between an expensive and a budget bottle of wine. Then we're in the kitchen with Kristen as she teaches us some great hors d'oeuvre ideas for your next social gathering. We're here at the Northwest Wine Academy and we're going to do a little blind taste testing. We have wine A and wine B. One of them is $65, the other is $10. We're going to see if these people can tell the difference. Okay, Michael, I'm going to have you try A first.
All right.
All right, Maddie, I'm going to let you try B first. Okay. You taste that one.
All right.
Got A, and we have B. I'm going to have you try B first. One of these is a $65 bottle of wine. She's savoring it. You've definitely done this before.
A few times.
I can tell.
I mean, taste has nothing to do with how much it's going to cost. So that's
okay. And you tell me which one you think is the most expensive of the two.
B.
Ding, 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 ding.
That comes across very sweet. That's very heavily oaked. This is your more expensive bottle.
How do you do it? Good job.
Expensive one would be B.
You got it right.
Saturn.
Good. Really, you can just tell right away.
I can tell right away.
Just breathing in. This one. This one?
Yeah.
This was A, right?
Yeah.
No. Dang it.
Oh, well, which more expensive is this one?
This one?
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
She's right. You didn't even hesitate.
Yeah.
You were like, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, pretty clear.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Good for you. Very good.
I drink a lot of wine.
She drinks a lot of wine. Was it easy?
It was, if you know the grape.
Really?
For me, it was easy.
We have the same wine that we were giving some of the other people, and now it's my turn to try. I don't think I'm going to be very good at this. Just gonna do what she does, and hopefully it'll help me.
Make a lot of noise.
Right, make a lot of noise, switch it around. I liked this one because it was a little bit drier. This one is very sweet to me.
That's good. That's good. Well, that's good. You know what you like. The $10 one is the dry one. Cheers.
There we go.
You can buy a pair of shoes with the 65.
Hallelujah.
For more information on the Washington wine industry, check out our website at wagrown.com.
So it looks like we're getting ready for a party.
We are. We're making some hors d'oeuvres for a party.
Those are my favorite.
They-
Love hors d'oeuvres. Finger food. I mean, it's just fun and easy, it seems like.
It is, and we're gonna use some local pickled asparagus.
Yum.
This is a great product you can find in quite a few stores nearby because they're grown and packed right here in Washington. And we're gonna take it and roll it up in some yummy, yummy prosciutto and just lay them out on a nice platter.
And that's
It's
easy,
Easy
right?
to do
Easy
ahead of
enough.
time. This is just assembling them simply. So you just wanna lay out one piece of your prosciutto.
Oh, that asparagus smells
You
so
smell
good.
it. And grab a nice spear, your pickled asparagus, and then just roll them up.
That is so easy.
It is to be, but they look so elegant too.
They do. And I'll get a platter for us.
And then we can just lay them out on a platter, nice and easy.
And the colors look beautiful.
They do, they play off each other nicely.
Yeah.
And while you keep going on that, I'm gonna come over and make a roasted garlic spread that we're gonna put on some
Nice.
bread.
And so you've already roasted your garlic.
I did. We have some garlic we've roasted at 400 degrees. It takes about 40 minutes with a little bit of olive oil on them. Got those already. And we're gonna mix it up with a little bit of cream cheese and Asiago cheese.
Oh, that sounds
salt.
decadent.
It is nice. It's a good spread for bread.
These hors d'oeuvres that we're going to be making, it seems like very easy to put together and maybe even do ahead a little bit so you can.
You can. You could do all of these the morning of.
While I finish wrapping the asparagus, Kristen adds salt and roasted garlic to the cream cheese.
And you can see they just squeeze right out.
That's easy to do.
It is easy.
And kind of fun.
It is.
I think people just like finger food, you know?
It makes it easy too to just serve things people can just walk by and nosh on without having to grab utensils or worry about keeping track of plates or anything like that.
Now, would you add anything more to that? Because I think it's actually very pretty the way
You can just put it out right like that and let people grab
and
one.
The colors are gorgeous and
You were fast.
I know, I'm fast.
You're done.
I'm good
How
at
would you like to
rolling.
slice some bread?
I will slice some bread.
To finish the cheese spread, we chop parsley, then grate some Asiago cheese.
We've been preheating our oven. We're gonna put it in at about 350 degrees for about 20 minutes. And you don't wanna do it much longer because if you keep it in too long, the Asiago cheese will get rubbery and hard on you instead of soft and stringy.
We add the parsley and Asiago cheese and mix.
And we're just gonna put it in a little oven-safe
An oven-safe dish.
I made that mistake once of not.
You only make that mistake once.
You do. And it was French onion soup and it went all over.
We add the cheese mixture to an oven-safe bowl, sprinkle with a touch more cheese, then bake in the oven.
Now what are we gonna do? We have to do the vegetables.
We're gonna cut up some
I know
vegetables.
how to do this.
You wanna do the olives?
We're gonna do the olives. You
Now
better
just-
watch this carefully. Open up the plastic thing and we pour it in and voila!
That is the most beautiful olive presentation I've ever seen.
And then we place it on our plates.
That's what I love about olives though. They have such deep jewel tones to
They
them.
do.
that
They look beautiful.
They look beautiful.
No crudité platter is complete, I think, without
olives.
So. All right, you're gonna make me chop some more.
I'm gonna make you do it.
Just just not good at chopping vegetables.
And again, it's that whole, beautiful food. It's simple. You can cut these in the morning and lay them out at night. And get a beautiful.
And it's already gorgeous the way it is. And I love carrots like this. You know, makes you want to do that. But they add a little artful.
They do. They make it more playful. And I like how it just reminds you that this food was grown.
It was grown, exactly.
This is fresh, delicious food.
We remove our cheese spread from the oven.
I'm just going to put it right here with our bread.
That's perfect. Look at that.
It's nice and hot. We can just scoop it out and put it on some bread. And we're ready.
And
Just
we're
like
set.
that.
We're ready to have a little gathering.
A little party here. Our party of two.
That's right. That's okay though. Roasted garlic smells so good.
And I just found a clove that didn't get all the way smashed. That's mine.
So you're the
I'm
lucky
going
one.
for that one.
Okay, here we go. So good.
And now for the asparagus.
Tangy, and then you have the nice smoky of the prosciutto.
They really hold their own against each other so well. Because the prosciutto does have that deep smoked flavor. But it's such a thin, delicate meat at the same time. The asparagus has a nice, strong pickling flavor, but it's still a really tender vegetable.
You can do a lot with both of these.
Kind of a little yin and yang for each other.
So good. I'm just gonna keep eating.
To find Kristen's recipes, log on to our website at wagrown.com. That's it for this episode of Washington Grown. It's been great getting to learn all that Washington has to offer for the rapidly growing wine industry. Thanks for joining us, and cheers.